Hey folks, Dust here, and I decided I wanted to do a little bit of a vlog to kind of end 2017, as I believe iBuyPower Masters was my last event of the year. Obviously, last-minute hires can always happen, but as far as I know, 2017 has come to a close for me as far as any type of events I might be working, and so instead I'll just be looking forward to what I can get involved with next year and just kind of see how things go. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of do something to cap off 2017, as it started out great. I mean, I got to work with DreamHack a lot this year. It was the first time I had worked with DreamHack. This year was really kind of the start of that. I did a lot of their DreamHack Open events. You know, it started off at Leipzig in Germany, and then I worked at Tour in France. I worked at Austin. You know, I wound up going to Sweden for DreamHack Summer. I obviously did DreamHack Denver as well. I also did a lot of stuff online for them for qualifiers, and I obviously also did remote commentary for DreamHack Masters Malmo. And with that in mind, this year also marked me doing a lot more commentary at offline events, whereas most of 2016 was actually me doing desk analyst work. And that's where I really actually made a name for myself, was last year doing analysis. I mean, I had obviously done commentary even dating back into the days of Counter-Strike Source as far as a hobby goes, but really me getting to events really kind of coincided with doing analysis stuff. It started with the CVO Gfinity finals, then E-League Season 1 was a really huge part of that, and then just kind of what I did throughout 2016. And so I feel like a lot of people got the wrong idea that because they saw me doing commentary a lot this year that I had given up analysis, that I didn't want to do it anymore, that I only wanted to do commentary, and that I could like shoehorn myself back into doing, you know, live match broadcasting as opposed to desk work. But that's really not the case whatsoever. That would actually be silly of me to do, right? If I've made a name for myself as an analyst and people were receiving me well as an analyst, and my social media following, for example, grew a shit ton off of doing an analysis work, it would be kind of crazy to just walk away from that. And the reality of the situation is I just kind of had to, you know, adjust and just kind of be flexible in order to open myself up for more opportunities. If I was only willing to do desk analysis work, I would have only maybe gotten 2 or 3 offline events this entire year, because there are so many fantastic analysts in CSGO. And then besides the set analysts, you also have pro players who, you know, rotate in whenever they're taking a break from playing or thinking about retiring or what have you. And on top of all that, there's less slots available for analysts at events compared to commentators. You know, usually there's half as many analysts at an event as opposed to commentators, so just more opportunities there. And so being flexible was kind of what I needed to be able to open myself up to being able to get as much work as possible. And it just so happened that DreamHack had opportunities for me to do commentary. It also just synced up really nicely that I was able to do it with Vince, which is something that we were toying around with ever since we worked together in 2016 for a couple of events. We thought, oh, maybe we can do it on 2017, because he was looking for a constant partner and I was open to whatever, and I really liked his commentary. We were really good friends. We talked all the time. And so it just made sense. And DreamHack gave us that opportunity, and we got to do a lot of European events together because of it. And unfortunately, he wasn't really able to travel to the North American events just because of health concerns and things of that nature. Not that he can't do events, period. He's, you know, make it very clear he can definitely do European events, but events in Asia and North America are a lot harder for him with his health concerns. I know he's trying to work on that for the future, so that maybe that isn't an obstacle for him. But it certainly kind of hurt our ability to keep going because he couldn't really travel to NA. And then it also logistically sometimes didn't make sense to hire me for a European event when you had so many good European commentators in the area. And also with him being on Room and Fire and me not being in it, it made sense for him to work with other people as well going forward. So we'll see. We may cast together again in the future. But the point is at the time in 2017, at the beginning, we wanted to work together, and we did. And I think it was a little bit rough at first, mostly on my end, because I had a lot of things I needed to work on commentary-wise. But I think towards the middle of the year, we started to hit a good level. And then, you know, I kind of had like a big lull in work between the middle of the year and the end of the year. But I think this last event I did, I really kind of made some progress. And so it was great working with DreamHack all year, all the open events, fantastic working with DreamHack staff, great people, production crew, great people, everyone, to the talent management with Mia, just an incredible crew of folks to work with. Enjoyed casting with Vince, enjoyed getting to work on the desk with people when I got a chance to. It was a lot of fun working with them throughout the year. And I've also done some online stuff with like the CVO people, mostly like League Premier qualifiers, some of the iBuyPower Cups and Subaru Cups, and different qualifiers and such. But yeah, DreamHack was where the bulk of my offline work was. I also did the 2 minors. I did the Asian minor for the PGL major, where I worked with Vince. Then I did this recent CIS minor for E-League Boston, where I worked with Seaside and Scrawny and Hugo. Then of course I did the iBuyPower Masters event, where I did almost every role. Like I did some desk hosting, I did some analysis, I commentated with Hugo a good bit. And just a lot of fun this year doing all of that. Going forward, I enjoy both analysis and commentary. I'm open to both, to be honest. I think my strengths probably lie in analysis more than commentary. I think I can bring a lot to the table in either role. But personally, the reasons why I did commentary this year a lot more was because that's where the opportunities were. That's what I was asked to do. Usually tournament organizers come to me with what role they want me for, and I don't argue. I just go with it and do my best. Even in a situation where I had to do some play-by-play commentary at DreamHack Austin, even though that wasn't my best role necessarily, not where my strengths lie, it was a fun to work with Launders and fun to do it, and I just do my best and try to improve and grind and just do what I can, right? And so going forward is really going to be the same mindset. I mean, personally, I also just really enjoy commentating with Vince. And if I have a partner I really like working with and I enjoy the color commentary, particularly because, and this is the last point, I really enjoy tactics and strategy over anything else. I think on the desk, you focus a lot more on identification. So you're talking more about a team's results or a player's performances or a map pool. The pick ban phase is a big part of pregame segments. And you're really setting up the context for the match you're about to watch. You don't really talk a lot about the strategy. That's more left for in-game, even though obviously in post-game segments, you might pull out a couple of specific rounds that you think had a lot of impact, maybe do some weatherman shit, even though it's really not that accessible. The weatherman stuff, not many events have it, but you get my point. There's some room for it, but not a lot. A lot of the nitty-gritty of tactical and strategy discussions in the game itself, and that's what I enjoy most. That's what I study the most. I mean, sure, I spend a lot of time doing research and compiling data about maps and player performances and whatever little insights I can get, and I'm constantly looking at other content like interviews to pick up insights, but a lot of my time is spent watching demos, and I just love watching and figuring out how teams like to play. I love finding new innovative stuff that teams have come up with. I almost enjoy that more than watching really big fancy frags in a big play, seeing a new innovative tactic. Like, that's just how my brain works. It's just what I kind of gear towards whenever I'm doing research, and so I feel like I was able to bring a lot to the table in a color commentary role in that way. I think the fact that when I was watching a game, I could let the viewers at home know, hey, this is what you can expect in this map. Like, I know this team likes to do X, and so be on the lookout for this. Or I know that this player likes to play this spot this way, so be on the lookout for that. And I know on the opposing team, this player plays this spot, and so these guys are going to duel each other a lot. That's going to be a key matchup. I love being able to bring that insight to the table. I think it does add value to the broadcast when I can bring in that tactical insight. Or in hindsight, be like, yeah, what you just witnessed, that's an example of what this team likes to do. You'll probably see them run this play a few more times this half. They really like to work from this. So I like being able to bring that supplemental information based on demo watching. I think that's where a lot of my strengths lie, is being able to bring you that tactical insight in the game. But I also am capable of talking about narratives and maps and all that stuff. And so I think I can bring that value to a desk as well. But I just personally enjoy this strategy stuff, and I'll leave it at that. That's basically why I enjoy color commentary a little bit more than analysis, though I am open to both and would do both. It just really depends on what doors are open for me. Also this year, I feel like when it comes to the critique of me or whatever, because I know people will talk about that a lot, some of it is just stuff, there's nothing I can do about it. People just still dislike me for stuff I did way in the past that I've already tried to make amends for. There's nothing more I can do about it. And some of that is a little bit unreasonable, like how upset people are about certain things when the players themselves aren't even upset, and I have good relationships with most of them. But whatever, it is what it is. And then some of it is just because I'm not everyone's cup of tea, and that's totally fine. I understand that. But I think that I do a pretty good job, and I'm, trying my best to just, be positive and build confidence, because I feel like sometimes my commentary suffers from just not being confident in what I'm saying or doing. And so I've gotten a lot of help from, my peers in that regard, getting peer critique. Launders has been a huge help in that regard. Same with Moses. Obviously, Vince has helped me out a lot because I've worked with him a lot. And a lot of people have certainly helped me out over this year in particular, trying to help me fine-tune my commentary. And there has been valid critique from the community as well, which I've implemented into my broadcasting. This year, I focused a lot, throughout the year, particularly in the middle of the year, to really improve talking speed. I would talk way too fast sometimes, and it would be hard for people to understand what I'm saying, and it would just be kind of a nightmare. I'd mispronounce words because I was talking too quick, but it was all just because I had so much I wanted to say, and I was trying to get it all out there because I knew I had limited time. And so it really forced me to just kind of slow down, make sure I'm talking about the most important stuff, and just making sure that I'm being clear in my speech so people can actually hear what I'm saying and not be strained to follow me. So that was something I really tried to work on towards the middle of the year and into the end of the year. And I think I was succeeding in that, and hopefully I can continue to improve that. Redundancy was another big issue that I've had to work on a lot, just being more concise and not just reiterating the same point over and over again. Make the point, it's there. I don't need to hammer it home. I don't need to make sure people heard that point. Obviously, if it's relevant to bring up again later on to reemphasize it, sure. But just make the point and move on and look to make another point. And tied into that was me balancing my research with the live match itself. Sometimes I feel like I got too hung up on the research I had done, and I really wanted to prove I knew what I was talking about. I really wanted to, show people I had all this knowledge. And so I would have all this research I had done, all these notes I had taken, and I want to bring that into the broadcast. And I think there is value in that, and I think that certainly can make the broadcast better. I already kind of talked about that, but I think that to a certain degree you can't force it in, and you can't focus on that too much. It's good to bring that in key moments like timeouts or technical pauses, or maybe like before the first gun round, to kind of give people an idea of what they're maybe about to see. But you have to focus on the live game itself, obviously, and make sure that you're really focusing on key things that happen in a round, so that you can recap it in post round or mention it mid round if it's kind of slow, and kind of say, oh, look out for this. I can see people doing this over here, man, look out for that. And then the play-by-play commentary can kind of build off of that. So it's about just finding a balance between the extra insights I can bring, the research I've done, the context I can bring to the table, and then the live game itself, and making sure I do both justice. And so that kind of ties into the redundancy thing. And so those things were valid community criticisms I got, and I noticed them myself listening back to my stuff. And so I really tried to drill that home. Unfortunately, I didn't really get that to a decent level until towards the end of DreamHack Summer with Vince. Like the last 2 days of that event, I felt like we had hit a really good level of commentating together. But some of the events earlier in the year, I was still struggling with redundancy and talking speed. And so it wasn't really until DreamHack Summer that I kind of finally made some progress in that regard. And I think most people did enjoy our broadcast at the Grand Finals, SK versus Fnatic. That best of three that went on 3 maps. That was probably my favorite moment of the year, was, Fnatic on home soil in Sweden at DreamHack, playing SK, a series that goes all 3 maps, casting with Vince, really starting to hit a better rhythm with my commentary. It just felt really good. And we did the DreamHack Masters Malmo broadcast remotely. That broadcast also went really well. That was very well received from the community. And then this iBuyPower Masters event also got received pretty well. It seemed like people were noticing I was making some improvements in these areas I mentioned that I was struggling with. But unfortunately, there was just such a huge gap between DreamHack Summer and iBuyPower Masters, where I really wasn't doing that much commentary offline. DreamHack Summer was like in July, and the iBuyPower Masters is in November. So it was like 4 months where I wasn't really doing a whole lot except for some online stuff, or like 1 day of Masters Malmo. And then I did the CIS minor, but most people didn't even see that because it was going on at the same time as Epicenter. It was obviously smaller teams and such, so didn't really get much viewership. But I now feel pretty confident that I hit a good level at iBuyPower Masters with Hugo. He was a pleasure to work with. I would certainly work with him again in the future, but I obviously would love to work with Vince in the future as well, or just whatever opportunities may arise. But I think going into next year, because I made those adjustments for Masters, I feel pretty confident I can keep improving those areas and make my commentary better. But again, I'm also open to analysis. I did it at Denver. I thought it went pretty well at Denver when I did analysis work, and I proved throughout 2016 to a lot of people that I can bring value to a desk. Again, it's just harder to get on the desk though, because there's less slots and there's a lot of talent in that area. It's a lot of talent for commentators as well. There's just more opportunities available for commentators between all the online work you can get, league work you might be able to get, and just more slots available for offline events when the hiring process is taking place. But again, I can't please everyone, and I'll try just to focus and just be as positive as I can. I think this year I certainly did a lot better about not responding to stuff publicly or being a whiny bitch on Twitter, which I certainly was guilty of in the past. It's more about just kind of sifting through stuff I see in the community with a fine-tooth comb, picking out what can help me, and then disregarding things that are just hateful or insulting, as well as relying on my peers and production staff and stuff to get maybe even more quality feedback, but not ignoring the constructive critique I do see out there, because there is some nuggets of gold out there that I can find, some needles in the haystack, so to speak. And so I just have to kind of have the thick skin about it to sift through it properly. And going into next year, I'm not sure what will happen. I was getting to a point where I'm having way too big of gaps in between events, and it's making it a lot harder on me financially to handle bills and stuff when I'm not getting enough paid work. Like I said, there's sometimes 2 or 3 months where I may have nothing going on, and I really tap into what I did make at the previous event over those 2 to 3 months to pay bills. And so going forward, I need to either find some type of part-time job that is flexible so I can still do esports stuff, or I need to find some type of full-time job that's flexible so I can still do esports stuff. Something within the industry full-time would be great, so I could definitely balance the two that way. Or it's about maybe having to step away entirely if I can't make ends meet. That's just the cruel truth sometimes. I don't want it to come to that, because I have found my passion. This is what I love doing. This is what I want to do, but not always can you make it happen. So I have to be realistic, and I'll just kind of be seeing what opportunities I can find early next year to see if I can keep going or not, is really the bottom line. I've also, trying to do content as much as I can. I haven't done a lot on this YouTube channel, and people are probably wondering, well, you're not really grinding that hard. I don't see any content from you. Well, that's because I was trying to do content for other people. I had a couple of publication things lined up here and there. You did see me do a video for Blitz. I did write a couple of articles as well for some people, but unfortunately it just didn't get to a point where I was getting to regularly publish with those outlets, either because of just they were busy with other people as well, trying to balance a bunch of other content creators or what have you. And so I just never got to publish as much as I had wanted to. I sat on so much material that I wanted to make content with, but I sat on it because I didn't want to put it on my personal YouTube channel, because I wanted to save it so I could find a bigger outlet to publish it so it would get to more people and I could also get paid for my work. And so that's really what I was doing. And unfortunately, some of the stuff I sat on was timely stuff that would be kind of irrelevant now for me to make content with. I think in the future, it's just going to come to a point where if I can find a place to publish it, great, I'll publish it somewhere. But if I can't, and it's something that's a little bit timely, I'm just going to self-publish it on my YouTube channel or get a medium if it's going to be an article or what have you. So I'd love to continue doing content work. It'd be great if I could make a living off of just making content and doing broadcasting alone. That would be the dream. But we'll just have to see what happens. I'll keep trying to see if I can't, get a little bit more options to publish stuff with different outlets going into next year, whether I need to do some self-publishing first. We'll see what happens. I have a couple of ideas in mind. I'm going to be putting out some content on YouTube going forward for the rest of this year throughout the holidays and stuff, just to have something to do as I try to figure things out, and of course just focus on my health and stuff as well. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please follow and subscribe. You'll see more content. Hopefully you'll see more of me in the future as well at events. That's what I'd love to happen, but we'll just have to see. And I just appreciate all the support, even those who didn't necessarily like my stuff. I appreciate your critique if it was constructive. And we'll just keep grinding, just keep staying positive, just keep trying to do what I can do and hope for the best and just keep working hard. So thanks so much. Catch you next time.